That is the new Lotus SUV, the first SUV they've built in their 74-year history. Now you can see it, but I can't. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't even seen any photos. So you're going to get my honest reaction to this car. So come on, let's do it. Ah, this is interesting. It's not quite what I was expecting. It's a bit lower, very aggressive at the front. Sort of reminds me a bit of a Lamborghini Urus, but even more futuristic. Is this a concept or a production car?
Production car.
That's actually going into production like that? Let's have a look at the back. It's pretty swoopy, isn't it? Oh, I like this. I'm a bit of a fan of a light bar, and this has got one serious light bar. This reminds me of the Avaya. I'm liking that. Anyway, we're going to go into more detail on the design in a bit and talk about through all the engineering stuff, the tech and the interior and all that kind of stuff, because I'm Matt Watson and you're watching Car Wow. Buy, sell, Car Wow. Let's start this video by talking about the design here at the front, because this is the most dramatic part of the car. It really does stand out, and I think this is the most aggressive looking SUV I've ever seen. It does remind me of the Lamborghini Urus. It's the big mouth, I think. However, a lot of the vents on the Lamborghini Urus, they're just for cooling that big engine. This doesn't have an engine, it's electric. And so the vents actually do other things. For instance, in fact, I need a stick, don't I, for illustrating the vents, none of which are fake. Look, so you've got these vents here in the bonnet. Now these help the air flow through the car, and that reduces the drag. It means that they can make this car look stylish without having to look like some kind of just like egg shape, like certain other electric SUVs. Can't think which ones. Anyway, so more vents down here, feeding air over the wheels. Down here as well, you might have just seen those opening, those vents. They'll only open when the battery needs cooling. And then we've got carbon fiber here and here. This is an upgrade, so this won't come as standard. Another thing that won't come as standard, blue hue to the lights, not allowed that. But the light design will be the same with the daytime running lights on the top, and then the main headlights down below there. Oh, it's mega. Here at the side, the car will come as standard with 21-inch alloy wheels, but you can upgrade to 22s or these 23s, which apparently are aero wheels, even though they look cool. Look, these little blades here help reduce drag. Another thing to note, poppy outie door handles. There we go. Now, you might like the light in them there, but that's not gonna make it to the final car that you'll be able to buy. They go away again when you step away from the car like that, so it keeps it nice and flush. Speaking of flush, there are some nice creases in the doors and over the side of the vehicle, and you can see there's got a sloping roof line as well. I don't think the side is quite as dramatic as the front, but that's harder to do. However, there is still an aero theme going on, so you've got big vent there, which is a bit more dramatic. And there's something else here that's really cool that I didn't notice at first. There's even a vent here. Look, I'm not going to put my stick of truth all the way in there because I might lose it, but that is quite unusual. Round the back there is more cool aero, such as the Avaya inspired ducts there, which I've already mentioned, and look, you can see the rear tyres through there. Then there's these cool little winglets instead of a full length roof spoiler. Reminds me of something off an old Formula One car, but you might be thinking that might not provide enough aero, but don't worry, look, we have a pop-up rear spoiler which is deployed when you're going above a certain speed. Then it goes away again to keep the whole back looking nice and flush. Now I've spotted something down here. This rear diffuser, which is made in optional carbon fibre, seems to have a fake vent in it here. Is this just for show? Well, actually no, because the angle of it's been designed specifically to blend in with the car's flat floor to reduce drag, so it does actually work. So I'll give Lotus a pass on that, which means I don't need the stick of truth anymore. Here on the inside, the futuristic theme continues. So if you notice the design of the dash here, these two pads, they mimic the winglets on the rear window, and it has a very sporty feel to it, where you've got this huge center console here and the wraparound design and the different layers. It's all very, very cool. Now, there are a couple of things that don't operate on this car because it's a prototype, such as the cup holders, and this doesn't open. And also, you've got a 3D printed panel there, which looks kind of cool, but that won't make production. Now, you might be thinking the rest of it, that, you know, all these Goldie switches and stuff, surely they're not going to make production. Well, yes, they are. And I tell you what, I love this steering wheel. And the fact that the buttons, which control lots of the car's functions, are actual physical buttons rather than like touch-sensitive ones on some other manufacturers' cars. I'm really happy about that. Now, the seats. So the design of them, how they look, are production ready. However, the actual foam that they've used in them, because it's a prototype, is rather firm. So it's not very comfy to sit in this chair, but it will be much better on the production car, trust me. Another thing that you should trust me about is the materials. They feel lovely. Oh yeah, so this is made out of wool, and then we've got some other man-made materials here which are like Alcantara, but not Alcantara, because then you have to pay the people who made Alcantara a lot of money. Oh, there's this as well. If you look here, you've got carbon fiber panels here. Now this is optional, but it's not carbon fiber as you know it. There's no actual weave to it. It's actually recycled carbon fiber, and it looks cool in its own way, in a sort of like organic-y kind of design. Oh yeah. Now, as well as organic features and stuff like that, you've got tech. This is your main infotainment screen here, where you can control lots of the car's functions, sat nav, and of course the ambient lighting, of which there are many different colors to choose from. It's going for a yellow, and it angles towards you, the screen does, when you want to use it. Why does it do that? It's just a bit of theatre, really. Cool theatre. Now the screen on this car isn't what's going to be in the final production car. They're going to have a higher definition screen, an OLED one, no less. So you've also got a digital driver's display there, very thin strip, so just the key information served up there, because you've also, as standard, got a heads-up display. And if you want, you can get a display for your passenger as well, so they can see how quickly you're going, or how much range is left in the battery. Now, some other things that I like on this car are the speakers. So it uses a KEF sound system, this car. I actually have a KEF sound system at home. It's really, really good. And the little tweeters here, they are in gold. Though you might be thinking, wait a minute, all this is a little bit too gauche for me, Matthew. I don't want a gold interior of my car. Don't worry, there are 3 other interior trims. You might also be thinking, well, vegan's all well and good, but do you know what? I like to kill some cows. I'd like leather, thank you very much. You can get a leather interior with this as well. Now let's talk about power. So this SUV has 2 electric motors, one on each axle, and combined they will have at least 600 horsepower. Lotus says this car will do 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds and will have a top speed of around 162 miles an hour. Now for comparison, a Tesla Model X Plaid has 3 electric motors and it has over 1,000 horsepower, and that can do 0 to 60 also in less than 3 seconds, 2.5. Although Tesla measure their 0 to 60 with 1 foot rollout, which is sort of like cheating. Top speed of the Tesla is 163 miles an hour. So it seems to have the edge ever so slightly on this Lotus, though there will be a more powerful version of this Lotus SUV, which could beat the Plaid. Because this is an electric car, it's got lots of interior space. Your batteries are underneath the floor, so basically you don't have any intrusion into the cabin. Not flat floor, lots of knee room, headroom's good as well, and this one's got the optional glass roof, which you're going to want to specify because it's just so nice. And then you can get the car with these 2-seater in the back, or you can go for a 3-seater bench, but this feels posher. I like this as well. Look. When you move the seat base forward, the back reclines. Lotus calls it a slouch function, and I'm a bit of a sloucher, so it's probably not going to do my posture any good. Maybe I should just improve my posture slightly. There we go. Sit up straight, Watson. There we go. Another thing that you got here is a screen here for controlling some of the infotainment functions, and this is hinged, so you can lift it up if you want to utilize it like that. It's not electrically operated. You have to do it using your hands. Now there's decent storage there, big door bins. There's a cubby under there, cubby under here, and there's your cup holders. Once again, this being a prototype, those don't open for now, but they will do on the finished car, obviously. Oh, one last thing to mention. Oh look, we've got some more of that recycled carbon fiber here. It just looks lovely. Just wanted to add that. Now let's talk about the batteries and charging and stuff. So you get 2 charge ports. The one on this side not only has AC, but it also has DC charging. And this vehicle uses an 800 volt system, so you can actually charge it at 350 kilowatts if you can find one of those chargers. And if you can, it will charge from 0 to 80% full in just 18 minutes. Which is pretty impressive when you consider this car has a battery capacity of over 100 kilowatt hours. Now that's good for a range of 348 miles, which incidentally is exactly the same range you get out of the furthest driving Tesla Model X, and about 30 miles less than you'll get from the longest range BMW iX. Welcome to the boot of this new Lotus SUV. Very important feature of an SUV because they need to be practical, right? So it's got a relatively square shape, and there's some features in here. Look, you can actually alter the height of the car so it makes it easier to load. You've also got a button to deploy the electronically controlled tow hitch, so you'll be able to tow with this car. And you've got your 12 volt socket there if you want to charge something. I don't know. In terms of the capacity, 400 litres, which is about 100 litres less than the BMW iX. It is pretty much the same capacity as a Ford Mustang Mach-E GT. However, there is more space under the bonnet. So let me show you the front boot, also known as the fruit. Now I'm feeling like a bit of a fruit now because I don't know how to get in here. How do we get in here? You can't get in here, why not? Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, so Lotus aren't letting us see under here. Obviously you'll be able to in the road going car, and you'll have 77 litres of extra storage capacity apparently, but I can't vouch that because I can't see. It's prototype stuff. This big SUV will actually share its platform with a smaller SUV Lotus is going to build and a large saloon car to rival the Tesla Model S or the Mercedes EQS. Now, to help keep the weight down, its structure is made out of aluminium. However, because this is the largest vehicle that Lotus has ever made in terms of its height, width and length, it's also going to be the heaviest. Now, Lotus's mantra is supposed to be all about building in lightness, and it's quite hard to do when you're talking about a big electric SUV with a huge battery pack. So this thing is probably going to weigh in at well over 2 tons. So much for Colin Chapman's mantra. Anyway, let's move on because the people from Lotus are looking at me with slightly cross faces. A big, heavy electric SUV is going to need some big, powerful brakes in order for it to be able to stop well. And these brakes look suitably large enough. I mean, look at the size of these calipers here. And if you are into some hardcore track driving, you can get carbon ceramic brakes as well for this car. Now, as standard, it comes with air suspension and it's adaptive, so it will alter the ride height depending on how fast you're going. Also, you can actually raise at the ride height for when you're going off-road. In fact, this is the first ever Lotus to have an off-road driving mode. This SUV may be a bit of a departure from Lotus's heritage of building lightweight vehicles. Hopefully though, it will still continue the Lotus theme of a vehicle that is fun to drive, and you can actually fit various options to make sure it's as sporty as possible. For instance, you can get the car with rear wheel steering, which will make it more agile. You can also get adaptive dampers, so when you press a button, it'll actually become firmer and stiffer the suspension for a more sporty drive. You can get active anti-roll bars to stop it leaning so much in the bends, and upgrade it with an electronically controlled limited slip differential for torque vectoring across the rear axle. Now, once you're done having fun on a twisty road and you can't be bothered to drive anymore, then this car can take the strain because it's got level 4 autonomy. That means that as well as the usual driving on a motorway, it can actually drive itself in certain designated areas. The idea being that you could just pull up at the shops, it'll go park itself and then come back for you when you need to get back in the car. Now, in order to do that, it has something called LiDAR, which is basically radars using lasers, so infinitely cooler. The trouble with LiDAR systems is that the actual sensors look a bit ugly, and that's why Lotus has hidden them until they're needed, and they pop out like that. And it's a good job they're hidden until needed, because the one up there makes the car look a bit like a London taxi. Now, another feature this car has is lots of cameras around it, so you've got various 360-degree cameras here and here, so they are used when the car's maneuvering itself, but also you can actually then get a 360-degree view round the car so that you don't curb the wheels. Now, you probably noticed these, I haven't mentioned them yet, but they are cameras instead of door mirrors, a bit like on an Audi e-tron, and a bit like on that car, they are optional. So if you'd rather have standard door mirrors, you can, which I think you should do, because the location of the screens for these is a little bit lower than where the actual door mirror is, so you end up having to look down. It just feels a bit odd. There are 3 key things I haven't told you about this Lotus SUV yet. The first is the price. So it's going to start from around £100,000. The second, sorry, I'm not meaning to swear at you, is the on sale date. So it'll go on sale in 2023. And the third is the name. This is the Lotus Eletre. Now, not Electra, Eletre. Spelled E-L-E-T-R-E. And according to Lotus, that is the Hungarian for coming to life. Though I actually put it into Google Translate, and in Portuguese, Eletre means electric, which surely is just far more relevant.